So initially I was really uncertain if I'm the right person to make this video, just because I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not working out like 20 times a week. I work out maybe 6 times a week max. I go running sometimes, I go to the gym. I like walking, of course, but I'm not really like a professional user for this product. Maybe that makes it more interesting for you guys, just because I am more of a casual user. I just like to stay fit in my day-to-day life, and that's more of my use case for my Apple Watch and also for the Whoop Band. As you can probably read from the title, this is gonna be my 1-month review of the Whoop Band after doing a trial with it as an Apple Watch user and as more of a casual fitness person. I've been meaning to try it out for so long after hearing so many people talk about it on podcasts. It was just always a bit expensive for me, so I was really happy to see that they now have a trial in Europe as well. For the structure of this video, I will start out by telling you all about my expectations, just so you know where I'm coming from. Then I will talk about the first impressions with the Whoop Band, the limitations, the benefits, then compare it to the Apple Watch just as a whole, and then maybe just give you a short conclusion in the end. I will have chapter markers, of course, so if you just want the conclusion, you can just skip right ahead. Alright, so for expectations, I think this is going to be a quick one. The question probably is, as an Apple Watch user, and if you're happy with your Apple Watch, why would you be interested in the Whoop Band? The biggest reasons were, first up, the better sleep tracking. I didn't really like or use the sleep tracking on the Apple Watch just because I felt like it was kind of clunky to have to activate the sleep mode, and then it stops when your alarm goes off. If you sleep a little bit longer, then that will stop tracking. It's kind of annoying. Also, just a more practical use of the data. The Apple Watch does track most of the data that the Whoop tracks, but I think the Whoop just has more features to let you know what the data means, while Apple is just like, here's our health app. You can look at everything. We're gonna provide a short text maybe, so you can read that if you want, but it's not really as comprehensive as the Whoop, where it says like, okay, that means maybe your recovery is like that or something. So when I heard about that, that was when I really decided, okay, I want to try the Whoop Band. Okay, then let's move on to my first impressions. Overall, my first impressions were really positive. The fabric feels super nice when you put it first on. It's much lighter than an Apple Watch. I mean, I'm wearing an Apple Watch Ultra now, but I used to wear an Apple Watch Series 4 before. And when I was comparing it to the Whoop, that was my benchmark. The Whoop still felt light compared to that, so I think every modern Apple Watch is just going to be much heavier and you feel it more on your wrist. That was something I really liked initially about the Whoop. Then also, I think wearing the Whoop, it just makes you feel like you're part of this kind of cool club. It's of course just signaling to the world that, okay, I know about this, I like this. I think it's just in a sense cooler than the Apple Watch. It's hard to express, and maybe this doesn't matter for you, but the Apple Watch is now like really taken off, and so everyone has an Apple Watch, but the Whoop Band is kind of this like cool new thing. And it's, whenever I see someone with a Whoop Band, I just think, oh, he knows about this, maybe he consumes the same stuff, he thinks about the same stuff as me. That's something that's just cool about the Whoop Band, but of course it's not really something that's gonna matter. It's just, I think, part of our psyche that thinks about that. Then also, I think initially it just feels really clean on your wrist without the screen, so you don't have anything to look at. It's just there and you forget about it really quickly, which is the best thing I could probably say about it, just because that's what it's supposed to do. Like, just fade in the background, track the data, and then you look at it on your phone. As I said, like, it felt super comfy. I really liked it, and in the beginning it was a very positive first impression. Setup process worked easily. Alright, so after my first positive impression, let's get into some of the downsides. The biggest one for me by far is that the accuracy is just not at the point where the Apple Watch is. If you look at any of the more quantified tests on YouTube, I will link a very good one in the description as well, you see that the Apple Watch is significantly more impressive in terms of the accuracy. The Whoop is okay if you wear it on a biceps strap. I think that's what I read online at least, but that's not what I want to do. I don't want to like order anything else just to use it, and it's just very inaccurate in terms of the heart rate. When you move your wrist like this, that supposedly gets your heart rate up to like 190 for me. That's just something that does not happen on the Apple Watch. I was wearing both for some workouts, and I just saw that it was much better, and I was also more confident in the numbers the Apple Watch provided, knowing that all of the scientific tests say that the Apple Watch is more accurate. The problem is that for this device, which hinges so much on the data, of course they have a nice presentation of the data, and we'll get into that later, but so much of it hinges at the data that goes in. If that data is only like 75% correct, then that's just really bad, and it just makes you question all of the other functions. And that's really something that I felt like I could have figured out before, but it wasn't really talked about that much in all of the like reviews and stuff. And so that's just something I really want to stress. The Apple Watch is much more accurate in terms of heart rate tracking than the Whoop Band if you wear it with the default wrist straps. I think that's just really the biggest downside right in the beginning. The second biggest downside, probably not a surprise either, but I just want to say that as an Apple Watch user, it's really annoying not to have a screen. You have to start workouts in the app or track them afterwards with the time. And for me, when I compared them for a week, I wore both. So I just took the time from the Apple Watch workout and put it in afterwards in the Whoop app. That's just not something you can do if you're only wearing the Whoop band. And I would not want to wear both at the same time. So that's not an option for me. And it's just really annoying not to be able to see your heart rate, not to be able to see how long your workout has already been going on for, and also not to be able to just start and stop workouts right from the band. Of course, it does get better at detecting the workouts, but still it's not always super accurate. So after like 2 weeks, it started to like recommend, okay, have you been walking between this time or whatever? It's just not the same as having a small screen, or just honestly, even Siri works for that. Like just if you just say to it like, okay, start outdoor walk or whatever, it just works immediately. And on the Whoop band, you always have to use the app. And it's just super annoying because I don't want to use my phone for that much. Even in the morning when I want to check my sleep stats, I don't want something that compels me to use my phone in the morning. On the Apple Watch, now that I've tried using it for sleep tracking as well, I just look at the sleep app on the watch in the morning. Okay, that's how much REM sleep I got. That's like all of the most important stats. And then I'm done with it. I don't have to pull out my phone, and it's not something that gets me to use my phone more. With the Whoop band, it sounds cool initially. Oh, it's distraction free and you don't have a screen. But actually, I feel like it's more distracting just because it gets you to use your phone more, while the Apple Watch works in that sense without a phone. Then of course that's something that may not apply to you, but I'm used to having a watch, so it's also nice to be able to tell the time, which of course the Whoop band also can't do. It's just like a different decision, but for me that's something that's like also one of the most, after the accuracy, probably the second most annoying limitation of the Whoop band. Okay, let's get into some of the less important stuff. First, the band takes really long to dry after a shower, like longer than some of the Apple Watch fabric bands I've tried. There is one that's supposed to dry more quickly, but with the default one, it was kind of too long in my experience. As I said before with the bicep strap, I don't want to have to buy something else initially. If they have technology to make it dry quicker, maybe just use that for the default version. Another thing I've noticed is that the alarm is not nearly as good as on the Apple Watch. The Whoop band just feels like, I don't know, my old Nokia phone vibrating when I get a message, and that's the alarm, and it's just not the same at all as on the Apple Watch. So if you like to use the alarm function, maybe it's a reason not to use a Whoop band. Also, it's kind of buried in the settings in the app. I think it's not really intuitive to find. That's something you get used to, of course, but still. In general, the app is really good, but I think it could be more intuitive. Like my first impression was still true. Of course, over time you figure out where to find what, and so it's not as bad anymore, but still, I think the app could be more intuitive. And then just to round it all up, one limitation for me was just that over time, I wasn't really paying as much attention anymore. So I wasn't really motivated to do the journal of when I had my last cup of coffee, how much caffeine I drank, if I had alcohol and stuff like that. Wasn't really motivated to look like, okay, how much strain am I supposed to have today? Just because I work out when I have time, and then I go as hard as I feel I can in that moment. And maybe it might be better, but honestly, I don't know. For me, it's just fun, and I don't want to go like, hey, today I'll do a light workout, even if I have like 2-3 hours available for working out. So yeah, I just stopped paying attention over time. That's something I've noticed in the first 1 or 2 weeks. I was really always paying attention, looking at all the stats. For me, that's just a bad sign if I stop paying attention. So maybe that's something that could apply to you as well. If you're more of a casual user, I think the Whoop just requires you to pay a lot of attention to really make the most of it. That's not really a limitation per se, because that's also like the biggest feature of the Whoop. It's just something that happened to me. And so maybe if you have the same use case, or feel like you're also only like working out a couple of times a week, maybe it would also happen to you. So really think about whether you would really pay attention in the long run. All right, so now enough negativity. Let's talk about some of the benefits as well. First step, let me go right back to the last limitation I talked about and counter that. The thing that's really cool about it is that it gives you notifications like, oh, today you slept better than yesterday, or oh, maybe go to sleep early tonight. And that's something that really helps, I think. That's really cool because you don't have to go into the app, you don't have to check all of the stats. It's just small advice that kind of makes it easy to say, oh, okay, maybe I'll stop working a little earlier tonight and just go to bed already, just because maybe I have some sleep debt or something, according to Whoop at least. That's something that's really cool, and I feel like the notifications are really helpful. Yeah, that's like one of the things that they do really well, just making the data that's available really useful to you in your everyday life. Also, I like that I really could notice how it gets better over time. In the beginning, I got like no workout suggestions, and then as I wore it more for like 2 weeks, I think, then it started always giving me suggestions, at least for walking workouts. So that's really helpful, because walking workouts, I think are especially annoying to track in the app on the phone all the time. Another big benefit for me, especially compared to the Apple Watch, is just the automatic sleep tracking. It worked absolutely flawlessly in my experience. It always detected when I went to bed and when I got up. And that's something that's really missing on the Apple Watch, and it's something that the Whoop just does really, really well. And that's just so nice, just because I'm not sure sometimes if I even need sleep tracking. So that means that sleep tracking for me should be as easily and as low friction as possible, and Whoop really makes that possible. In general, the Whoop is really nice for sleep tracking, just because I don't like wearing a watch in bed, and that's where it really shines without the screen, just because it's really low profile, it feels light on your wrist, it just does all of the sleep tracking stuff really well. Also, what I talked about earlier, of course it's annoying to have to buy different straps, but it's nice to be able to wear it in different places. So if you don't like to have it on your wrist, you can wear it. I think they even have like underwear where you can put it, so that's just really nice. You have a lot of flexibility. Then also I really like some of the scores. I'm not really a huge fan of the strain score, just because it's really intransparent for me in terms of what it does. It's supposed to tell you like how much strain your workouts put on your body. I didn't really understand what it meant, and I found that it was quite unintuitive. But some of the other scores like recovery are really nice to have and just really cool, just because they take multiple data sources and give you a usable, easy to look at score, which is missing on other devices, definitely. Another thing that Whoop does really well is battery life and charging. So it has really long battery life. It's like 4 to 5 days. I'm not quite sure, but that's kind of the number that they give, and that's also what I felt like was realistic in my usage. But one of the best things is that you never have to let it run out, just because you can put this charging thing on and then you can charge it while you're still wearing it. That's really cool, and I really love that solution, just because with, for example, the Apple Watch, you have to charge it up and you have to take it off for charging. So if you want to do sleep tracking as well, you either need 2 Apple Watches or you have to like always find a time, and it's just something you always have to think about with the Whoop band. Just put this little thing on, it charges it, and then it gives you a notification when it's done. You take it off and you're done. That's really cool, and I really like that solution. I hope there would be something like that on the Apple Watch. And that means that the Whoop has 24/7 data, which is, of course, it probably won't matter if you have like 20 minutes missing in between somewhere. I don't know, for me it just feels nice knowing that everything is tracked and you can really look at everything, and you also don't have to look for little slots in the day where you're not moving a lot to be able to charge it. And last but not least, I think it's also important as a benefit that you have no ecosystem lock-in. I often forget that as like kind of an Apple fanboy, that it's important that as an Apple Watch user you can only use an iPhone, and maybe if I don't like the iPhone 17 or 18 anymore, I want to go to a Google Pixel, I would also have to get a new watch. I would also not be able to use my watch anymore, while with the Whoop band you have no ecosystem lock-in. You can use Android, Apple, whatever you want, and that's just a nice benefit, and I think it's important, even though mostly I think people are not switching platforms that often anymore. Just nice to know that you could at any point, and it's not another accessory that just locks you in more. Alright, so let's talk about the comparison if you're in between a Whoop band and an Apple Watch. I've been an Apple Watch user for like 4 years and I've tried the Whoop band. What do I think now? I think the Apple Watch is more of a multifunctional device that can do a lot, and it can also do fitness stuff really well. The Whoop band is a really focused device for fitness and health, and it especially does data visualization really well, and it does do a lot more with the data that you get. So it's multifunctionality versus using the data really well. That are the most important benefits of both platforms for me. The Whoop band has better battery life and a much better charging solution, does sleep tracking much better, the automatic sleep detection works great, and it also visualizes the data better, lets you do more with the data, and really makes an effort to remind you during your day what you could do right now based on the data that your body is providing at this moment. The Apple Watch, on the other hand, just does do much more in general. So you can use it to pay with Apple Pay, you can use it to listen to music and audiobooks even without your phone, just stuff like that. The Apple Watch is much more multifunctional, it's also much more accurate, and it also has a better pricing model, so you don't have to pay for a subscription. You can just get it once and then you get the software from Apple, and they still add in stuff all the time. So you pay once, then you own it and you're done with it. Honestly, I think Whoop prices per month are quite high for what it is. Also, you get a screen on the Apple Watch, which, as I said, makes it much easier to just use it and just go out with it alone, not having to use your phone at all. And so that's something I really enjoy. You also get to see all of your stats during your workout. And a small thing for me also, I just prefer the alarm on the Apple Watch. I haven't used Apple Watch sleep tracking before, and now I did, just to compare to the Whoop, and I have not stopped since, just because I like the alarm. I don't really know if I really need the data of my sleep every night, but I really like using the Apple Watch alarm just because it's much nicer to wake up to that instead of using the iPhone alarm and have an annoying ringtone. So to kind of spoiler the verdict already, for me, why does the Apple Watch win? It's because as a casual user and as someone that just likes to stay fit and is not like a professional athlete that wants to optimize everything, the most important stuff for me is during a workout, show me my time, show me my heart rate, show me all of those stats, and let me see that easily just so I can know how long I still have to go, maybe how long I took a break during the gym workout. All of that stuff, it's easily to see. And then also I want to see every day how much have I moved already, and that's where the red ring of the Apple Watch just really comes in handy. And that's just something that the Apple Watch does really well, and as a casual user, that's the most important thing for me. I don't want to look at the data a lot. I just want to know that, okay, have I moved enough today, or should I maybe go for a walk? The Whoop does provide that, as I said, with the strain score, kind of, but it's not the same. I like the red ring, that's all I need, and it's much easier as a casual user to just use that and not have to look through all the data. You really, I think, between those two devices, have to think about whether you really want to look at all of this stuff over the long term. In the beginning, of course, it's interesting, as I talked about as well, but then you kind of get into your routine, and I'm not looking to change my routine that much every day just based on the data that comes out of the Whoop device. So if you feel like you're kind of in that same camp, maybe take a look at the Apple Watch instead, because I think in terms of the casual fitness stuff, it provides more and also with more accuracy. And that kind of brings us into my verdict already. So I have not continued my Whoop subscription, not only because I had an Apple Watch already and I didn't want to pay for the subscription. I was kind of ready to jump on it, so I just decided against it just because it didn't really provide a lot in addition to the Apple Watch for me. I missed the screen way too much. I didn't like that I had to always question the accuracy, and the recommendations it gives are kind of worthless if it's not really accurate. So that's something that really annoyed me. And then also just having to track the workouts in the app manually instead of just starting it right on the watch. All of that was kind of annoying to me, and it kind of put me off. That being said, I think it's a really cool device. It's nice to have some competition for Apple just because there's such a dominant player, and I think the Whoop Band is great for the right kind of person. If you're someone that really likes to go into data and really likes to look at that every day and really likes to optimize their life around their fitness, I think this is probably the best device for you right now. If you ask me, I think the Apple Watch is the better device for most people. If you're in the Apple ecosystem already, great accuracy, and it's really nice, as I said, just for that casual aspect of, okay, have I moved enough already? That's the most important question for me, and the Apple Watch makes it easier to answer that with the screen, with all of the other functions that also make it much easier to use in everyday life. But if you're really focused on your fitness, I think the Whoop device is probably great. So if you're kind of curious, maybe just go for the trial. I think you only have to pay for shipping, so you're not really losing much. I don't want to bash it at all. The Apple Watch is the better device for me right now, but I'm really impressed by what Whoop has done, and it's really cool to have this new type of device. If they improve it more and more, maybe I'll come back and try it again later, and it might be the better device in the future. They just have to get the accuracy to be better, maybe give me an option to just kind of start workouts right on there, and that would already improve it a lot for me. Right, so I'm gonna leave it at that for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got something out of it, even though I'm not like a super professional sports person. I'm just more of a casual user. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you like. Also, thank you for all of the new subscribers. I'm getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, so I'm really happy about that. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.